Hello, class 11th student. Today I'm going to start chapter 2 from your book Statistic for Economics. Topic is collection of data. Okay, so in the first chapter, we had learned about what is economics, what is statistic. So within that, we had learned that statistic means statistical method. Within that, the first step is collection of data. Why we do the collection of data? Question arise, why we do the collection of data? So here is the answer. It is the process by which researcher या investigator collect the information needed to answer the research problem. Like if there is problem of poverty, if there is problem of poverty, so if investigator wants to know that why is so severe, yeah, so dense problem of poverty, so he have to, yeah, she have to collect the data. Okay, then only the investigator is able to understand the problem of poverty properly. Okay, the task of data collection begins after a research problem has been defined and research design chalked out. Okay, so first of all, we decide what we want to understand, what objective. First we decide the purpose of investigation. Okay, like we want to know the scenario of COVID in second wave. If we want to know about the poverty, if we want to know about the rural development, so first of all we have to determine objective. According to that, we select the area and then we collect the data. The collection of data is required to understand any social economic problem. So why we do the collection of data? We do the collection of data to understand any social economic problem. Okay, now, okay, there are two ways to collect data. How we are going to get the information? So there are two ways to collect the data. First is external and second is internal source. External is further divided into primary data and secondary data. Okay, so first of all we are going to understand what is external and what is internal. So internal source of data, when we use own data, when we use own collected data, so this is internal. When we use other others collected data, yeah, outside data, when we use outside data, so this is external. What is written? So many institute and department have information on regular basis, so if we are using it, so it is internal when they use it. Okay, what is external? When information is collected from outside as an agency, so this is external. One example, if Divine Public School want to know impact of COVID pandemic on enrollment of a student, and for this study if Divine Public School is using its own data, yani number of student who has taken the admission. Okay, so this is what, this is internal source. Okay, but if Divine Public School who wants to know impact of COVID pandemic on enrollment of a student, and he is taking data of other school like RPM, uh, any other school, okay, numbers, so this is known as a external source. Now I had told you ki in external source is divided into two parts, primary and secondary. So primary data is what? The data which are collected from the field under the control and supervision of investigator. This type of data are fresh and collected for the first time. They are original in character. So when investigator himself collect data for investigation. So it is known as a primary data. Okay, so the data, primary data is not going to exist before. Okay, primary data is the data which is totally new, totally fresh. It is collected first time. Now, what are the merits of primary data and demerits of primary data? So, merits of primary data. Primary data is related to targeted issue and address. Yani whatever you had decided purpose of investigation, according to that you are going to collect the data. Data interpretation is better. There is high accuracy. Why? Because investigator himself collect data from respondent. So in this way, this data is more accurate. Like if a child is not coming to school from last 4 or 5 days, so if I ask the question and if I ask the reason, so I get accurate answer from that. Okay, so whenever investigator gets information directly from the respondent, there is high level of accuracy. Now, addresses a specific research issue. Already I had told you कि first investigator decide purpose and according to that he collects the data. So primary data is always related to specific research, yeah, specific social economic problem. Greater control, because you are first time collecting the data, so you are going to decide who will be going to who are going to the answer, what will be the area of investigation. So there is greater control. Okay, now what are the demerits? Evaluation cost. देखो, primary data is costly because it is first time collected. Investigator himself collect all the information, so it takes lot of money. Okay, time consuming. Obviously, when you are collecting the primary data, you have to connect the respondent, so there is more time. It takes more time, more effort. Now more number of respondent are resources are required. Obviously, sometime if area of inquiry is too large, like if you had decided the purpose of inquiry, Gorakhpur condition in COVID-19 pandemic in second wave. So your area of investigation is Gorakhpur. Now you cannot connect all the hospitals, all the patient, so you require some enumerators or helpers. Inaccurate feedback. Sometime respondent don't give correct answer or not give accurate answer. So this problem is faced by investigator. Required lot of skill with the labor. Obviously, data collection is the work of expert. So investigator is going to be familiar with all the tools. He is going to have specified knowledge, specific skill, and if he or she is taking the help of other, they also going to be trained. Training is must require. Okay, so these are the merit and demerits. Now, primary data has completed. Secondary data. What is secondary data? So those data that have already have been collected by others. So these are usually in journals, periodicals, research publication, official record. Secondary data may be available in published or unpublished form. Okay, and it is not possible to collect the data by primary method. In that condition, an investigator make the use of secondary data. This data collected from some purpose other than problem at hand. So remember, primary data is a data which is related to problem. Investigator himself collect. Okay, but in secondary data, what you are going to do, you are going to use others data. For example, I had given you uh, prepare a file on COVID-19 pandemic second wave. So what you are going to do, you are not having that much money, that much time, and you are not allowed to go outside. So what you are going to do, you are going to complete this project, this investigation, by using some magazines, some books, and you can search many material on Google. So this is what, this is your secondary data where you use others data. Okay, so whenever you use others data, this is known as a secondary data. Okay, now merits and demerits. What are the merits of secondary data? Quick and cheap source of data, obviously. Immediately, if you want to have to, if you want to prepare a project on population, COVID-19, or on any other like poverty, women empowerment, just you Google on your Android set, you get lot of materials. So it is quick and cheap. Wider geographical area. In secondary data, okay, you can collect information about any area, any, like you can make the research on green revolution, so you can take the case study of any other country. So this is only possible with the secondary. Longer orientation period, okay, leading to the find primary data. Now demerits, it is not related to specific, poor accuracy. Accuracy level is not according to the primary. Data are not up to date. Obviously, you have to make modification. Poor accessibility in some cases. There are many topics when you find out, so there are less material available. Now, difference between primary and secondary data. So, primary data are real, they are original. Okay, sure about the sources of data. It give correct result, costly and time consuming, okay, more flexible. If you talk about the secondary data, so past data, secondary data is always collected data, so it is a past data. You don't know about the sources of data, from where the data has been collected. Refining the problem, cheap and no time consuming process. In secondary data, immediately you can do your project work, you can do your investigation, you can complete your inquiry. Cannot know data, okay, less flexibility. Now, before proceeding methods, I'm going to explain some important terms like statistical inquiry. So what is statistical inquiry? Statistical inquiry means an investigation on topic by any agency where relevant quantitative information is collected. Okay, so statistical data is related to what? It is related to collection of data. Okay, so when you are collecting the data regarding any economic issue, it is known as a statistical inquiry. Now, investigator, who is known as an investigator? The person who collect the data, that is known as an investigator. Innovator, who help the investigator in collection of data. Respondent, about whom there is inquiry, yani ki the person who is going to give the answers, that is respondent. Survey is what? Gathering of information. So these are the important point, yeah, term you should know. So what we had learned till now, we had learned collection of data. Why we do collection of data? Reason for collection of data. So reason is what? To understand, to understand any social, economic issue. Okay, To understand any social economic issue like poverty, women empowerment, we require collection of data. After that, we had learned that there are two sources to collect the data, internal and second is external. Okay, internal means when we use own data, or external means when we use outside data. Okay, now external is divided into primary and secondary. Okay, what is primary data? So primary data are those data which are collected first time. So first hand data. Okay, first hand data is known as a primary data. Secondary data. So what is secondary data? Secondary data is the data which is already collected by other people and one person is using it. Okay, so this much we had learned. Now methods, we are going to learn the methods for collecting primary data and secondary data. So first of all, primary data. So there are personal investigation, within that direct personal investigation, indirect oral investigation. Information from local sources are correspondent. B, information through questionnaire and schedule. Within that we are going to study mailing and enumerator method. And the last one is telephonic methods. Okay, so these are the methods that we are going to study here. Okay, so first of all, direct personal investigation. What is this? In this method, investigator collects the data directly from the informants. Okay, so like interview, when a person is going to interview for job or for the admission, so this is the example of direct personal investigation in which investigator connect directly with the respondent or informants. Okay, investigator go in the field, connect the respondent and collect the data himself. Now, next is indirect oral investigation. This is the method investigator approach to third party. Yani in this method, investigator is not going to connect with the respondent. He is going to connect with the third party. What are these third party? So third party means friends, relatives, teacher, neighbor, any person who having information about you. Yeah, about the information. Okay, so this method is used when area of investigation is very large. Investigator prepare a small list of questions related to the investigation and ask question to different people. The person to whom these questions are put are known as a witness. This type of inquiry is usually collected by police department. Okay, so here is given some example. Like if in a college there are some student who do the smoke, if directly you are going to ask you are addicted of smoke, yeah, you do that, so they are not going to accept it. So in this case, to find out these students are doing smoking or not, you can contact to their friends, neighbor, relatives. Okay, and you come to know if this is correct or not. So any time when case is very sensitive, an investigator feels that respondent or informant is not going to give correct answers, so in that case we use indirect oral investigation. Now next is information from correspondent. Correspondent means what? Correspondent means reporters. So here in this method, local agent या correspondent are appointed and trained to collect the information from the respondent. In this method, investigator appoints reporter and these reporters collect data. So this is all about this method. This method of collecting primary data is used when information is regarded or needed regularly. Okay, agents or correspondent regularly collect the data. This method is often used by the newspaper, periodic, yani all the print media, electronic media use this method. Why? Because they require regular data. You know, news are broadcasted 24 by 7. So in this case, you require some local people in all over the India who are going to give you regular information. So what is this method? Investigator appoints respondent, uh, yeah, correspondent, yeah, reporters, and these reporter or correspondent collect the data on the regular basis and provide it to investigator. Here is given one example. Suppose a textile industry is interested in the demand of forecast of variety of cloth. Yani in near future, demand of which type of cloth will be more. If he want to know, the textile industry want to know. The correspondent are asked to collect the information of different type of cloth and quantity purchased by some selected families or quantity sold in some reputed shop every month. So these data are sent to investigator. Okay, now mailing questionnaire method. What is mailing questionnaire method? Under this method, the investigator makes a questionnaire which is having lot of question, and he send this question paper to respondent. Okay, and this is going to have a cover on which there is written on which address it should be returned. Okay, what is this questionnaire? Questionnaires means consist of list of question pertaining to investigation. Blank space are left for writing the answer. Okay, usually a self address stamp involved. Okay, now respondent are assured of there will be no disclose of information whatever information is informant is providing. Okay, so online survey through short messages are the example of mailing method. Now question are filled by enumerator. Under this method, enumerator personally visit the information with the questionnaire, ask question, note down the reply in his own language. So this is your questionnaire method. When you are using questionnaire method, so you require pilot survey. What is pilot survey? So before sending the questionnaire to information, it should be pre-tested. The pre-testing of question paper, yeah, questionnaire is known as a pilot survey. Okay, why it is done? To know shortcoming of any can be removed. Okay, so this is known as a pilot survey. Pre-testing of question paper is known as a pilot survey. A pilot survey is preliminary survey used to gather information prior to conducting a survey on large scale. Okay, it is done so that before the final use, investigator is able to know about the problems, demerits, yeah, any shortcomings that is related to question paper. So he can, yes, she can make the correction before the final use. Typically taken by the small group. It also check the efficiency of investigator, organization, okay, and administration. Now there is two term, questionnaire and schedule. What is different between questionnaire and schedule? So both means a set of questions. Question paper and schedule both means what? A set of questions. What is difference between these two? So difference is when answers are to be recorded by respondent, so it is known as a questionnaire. When answers is written by enumerator, so it is known as a schedule. So that much only difference. Questionnaire and schedule both means a paper which is having lot of questions. Okay, if it is filled by respondent, so we call it questionnaire. If answer is written by enumerator, so it is known as a schedule. Okay class, now here is given detail about the questionnaire. A questionnaire is a research instrument consisting a series of questions for the purpose of gathering information from the respondent. Okay, the questionnaire was invented by Statistical Society of London in 1938. There are given some important quality that you require for a good questionnaire. So there should be limited number of question, there should be not too much question or not very least question should be in appropriate amount. Next is simplicity. Language should be simple. It is not like that the respondent is not able to understand the question. Proper order of question. So first of all there should be some simple question, then there will be some tough question. No undesirable question. Never ask any personal या controversial question. Calculation. Calculative question should not be asked. Okay. Pre-testing pilot survey. For a good questionnaire, it is required that you check the quality of question and efficiency of enumerator. For that you conduct a pilot survey. Instruction. Whenever you are preparing a questionnaire, first of all write all the instruction. Like in your question paper there is given instruction and then questions are given. Request for return. So if you are using a mailing method, so request for return. Now telephonic, this is the last method. Name clear its meaning. What is telephonic method? In this method data collected, the investigator seeks the desired information from the respondent over the telephone. So whatever information investigator want to collect, he just ask the question on the phone and respondent give answer on the phone. Merit, original, accurate and reliable. ठीक है. But beside this, the methods serve respondent a personal embarrassment which he might encounter in the personal interview. Now, sources of secondary data. Primary data has completed. Now, if we talk about the sources of secondary data, so there are basically two sources, published source and unpublished source. So, published source is related to government publication, semi-government publication, reports of committee and commission, private publication, journals, newspaper, international publication. Unpublished is what? Those data does not needed always to be published. Like research of any researcher, there are many students who do the PhD, they collect the data, but these data never published. Other sources, website that you make the use. So in this way, in short way, published source and unpublished. So there are two ways for the collection of secondary data. Okay, and for published, international, government, municipal, corporation, institutional, commercial. Thank you for today. Your second chapter has completed.